All right, so this car is back in the shop. Did a little bit of work to this thing a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. Just helping the customer out to get it running. It had a V6 in there and they put a V8 in there. And everything was pretty much there, just needs to be hooked up correctly. And it's running pretty good, I guess, but his alternator is not working. So has two wire alternator over here. So basically one of these wires goes to power, and then the other one, this yellow one, is used to excite it. And that goes forward, and it's supposed to go to a light on your instrument or in the console here. But I pulled this all apart, and looky, playing hooky. So as the theme goes, my buddy Mitch would say there is a theme going on here. We got alternator light, wire right there. Pretty sure that's not connected. We got this one is hanging, and this one is hanging, and we got a little bit of a mess here. So we got a wire nut going to nothing. We got one of those stupid little T-lock things, but they're using that like a butt connector. It's not even going to anything else. So we just got a couple little issues in here. So I'm going to try and clean some of this up for him. Make it a little bit more sanitary underneath there, and then hopefully if the next person has to get in here, it's a little bit cleaner, which is probably going to be me. So it would behoove me to clean it up now and make it a little nice. Over here, got a little bushing out, but that's not. Oh, yeah, that's not good. Kind of missing the bearing in there, but it still works. That's not what he's here for. He's here for electrical work. Can't even say it. So, yeah, a couple things to fix. You know, you can feel the metal actually coming out of that little wire right there. There's a little pokey coming out. So, butt connector right on top of the tape here. I don't know. We'll clean that up. I can fix it up real nice. All right. So this is what I came up with. So basically how these systems work is you have a power wire that goes to one side of the bulb, which is this guy right here. Then the other side of the bulb goes to the alternator, which is this wire right here. So this wire was broke. I'm like, okay, easy fix. Just put that back together, right? Wrong. Because I didn't have any power, which is supposed to be going to these gauges right here, from this ignition switch over here. That had a bad connection. Somewhere in here, there's some metal showing. Oh yeah, right there. This is just kind of wrapped up and taped. So there was no connection, so no power, plus no ground. So basically the alternator grounds this wire, so when you turn the key on, then this little bulb, let me get over yonder. So that little bulb is supposed to light up, boom, like that. So when that lights up, it's completing the circuit. Then when you start the engine, that wire excites the alternator down hither through this wire right here. That excites the alternator, and the alternator has a power wire going from the terminal here. Once that gets power, it actually back feeds power, so the two powers oppose and it turns the light out. So this wire right here was connected to the computer, because this motor is out of another car. So it was wired into the computer, and the computer was shutting off that. Well, this car needed the bulb, so I back traced it to underneath here with all this mess down yonder, and I found where the alternator wire comes out and stops. So all I had to do was make a new wire where that ended and ran that through here and then plugged into the gray wire that's on here. So I had no power, I had no ground, and I had no wire coming back to the alternator. So 3 different problems. Huh. It's never easy. Got multiple issues, 3 different issues, and you fix one and you're like, oh, okay, it's got to be finished, right? And then something doesn't work, and I'm like, oh my gosh, then you have to go chase that down. Then you got to chase this down. But right now, it's working, which is what he came in here for. So that's good. These lights on top are working. Boop. That works. And those work. Well, that's what he was all coming in for. That was pretty easy. They're just disconnected. But I'm going to go through and clean this rat's nest. I'm not wiring up. I can consolidate some of this stuff where there's just a bunch of butt connectors going into 2s and tape and all kinds of junk. So now they got the actual problem fixed. So we have a wire nut, butt connectors, little T-splices. I mean, I don't even understand that one because it just doesn't even go anywhere. So all that needs to be cleaned up and safe so we don't have little pokes of wire sticking out all over the place. So that'll be tomorrow. Piece of cake. So this guy will be happy because he's going to the dunes this weekend and should work pretty good. All right, so these little chingaderas right here, it's called a T-lock. And basically what you do is you wrap this around a wire that you want to connect another wire to, and then you squeeze it down and it clamps those tiny little teeth in there and locks the 2 wires together. So you got one wire on one side and the other wire on the other side. The problem is you can see how skinny that little slot is, and this is what it does to your wire. So it just completely rips through the wire. I mean, this is a red one, so this is made for little tiny wires like this, which if you put 2 of those together, it might not be the end of the world, but still, don't use these things. They're absolutely horrible. So that's terrible. I mean, this little monstrosity right here is at least better than this. They wrapped all this stuff up and put some solder on there, so that's at least a decent connection, and you're going to get good continuity all the way through there. This, I mean, half the wires are gone, so now you've turned this into a, whatever size this was, probably like a 14, 16 gauge wire, and now you've turned it into a 20 because you cut all the wires out of it. So absolutely terrible. And then of course you got your household little nut bolt things on there, and that, see, that even came out of there, so that's terrible. Better off just putting a little piece of tape or something on there. You could actually take one of these butt connectors and put it on the end of it and just squeeze it and just leave it as a cap. But I'm not even using these because they weren't hooked up before. But what I basically started doing is just getting rid of all these butt connectors. So this one had 2 or 3 butt connectors from here to the switch down there. So apparently it was a little too short, so they added on, and it was still too short, so they added some more. And then added this one. Same thing. Put a nice tight wire on there with a new end on it. And I'm just going through and getting rid of all these crappy butt connectors. And a little bit at a time. So it's not too hard. When you look at it, it is obviously a mess, but if you pull one of these apart at a time, this is probably the worst one, the ignition. It's going, had power here, power coming out here, another power over here. It's juicing up everything with one wire, but unfortunately it just has to go back together that way because this whole car really needs to be rewired. It's horrible. we'll just keep plugging away and get this stuff cleaned up. Shorten some of these really, really long wires, and then kind of help to bundle this stuff up and make it nice. See, this is what I'm talking about over here. What in the actual beep? So, little wire right here. That was hooked down yonder to one of them switches. And then they have one of these little T-tap, T-lock thingies. And then this wire right here, which is 2 feet too long. I could have just clipped it off in a suitable length and put one of these little chingaders. I'm like, oh my gosh, people. No thought process whatsoever. Okay, they didn't have any of these, but they had these. Whatever, go to the store. Don't be lazy. You can get these at Home Depot, any auto parts store. I mean, they're everywhere. Amazon will deliver them to you today. Just, wow, it's so weird. So, yeah, just clip this off, put another one of these little spades on there, pop it in, and I'm done with that. So it's starting to get there. Getting rid of most of these, button them up. It's kind of cool. Put all 4 of these together into one with the fuse. It is one with the fuse. Oh, and all the light ones are together with one wire going to the switch for the lights. So, yeah, I mean, it's still a mess, but getting it cleaned up and getting it safe because there's no more wire poking out. All I can do is clean up this one, clean up this one, and then kind of wrap this stuff a little bit, make it a little bit more manageable. Bada bing, you know what's coming next. Bada boom over here. Okay, I think for now I'm kind of done. Just kind of got some of the stuff tied up. It's still a mess, but it's a lot safer. Everything is heat shrunk, no metals, piece of copper sticking out. Everything works, alternator works, which obviously what it came in for. And all those lights are working. Little light over there. And lights over there. Light over there. So, and still kicks on. So I could spend hours and hours and hours, but I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on this deal. It's just, it needs to be gutted. But at least it's safer and everything's going to work that he came in for, and still going to be expensive-ish because got a lot of hours on just doing this part. But wiring is just very time-consuming. But I'll make him a deal because he's a super nice guy and he wants to get into the dunes. So, like I said before, it's kind of a neat car. Pretty clean. Got the old school Corvette covers. Those are a little dated, but yeah, it's pretty neat. So we'll wrap this thing up and finish it up. So this is the remnants, some of the junk, some of the stuff I already threw away, but we have, household wire, nuts in there, obviously plethora of butt connectors and these stupid little tie deals. We had all kinds of colors of them. They represented the red, blue, and yellow. So this one was really bad because this is way too small for the wire that went on there that shredded it. Actually, it was this one right here. I think I showed you that before, but it cut almost all the way through this thing. So there was only a few wires that were even touching. So just junk,
people, this was a good one. Nice big fat wire. This black wire is actually a really good wire. It's got a clear covering on top of it, so it protects the coating. The bigger wire going into the smaller one that they put the little tap on there. It's not even the way it's supposed to be used. They use it like a butt connector instead of just taking one of these blades and sticking on the end of that black wire. But you can see it's about a foot too long. But just silly. But it's done. And let the customer know I actually had about 7 hours in it. Just because all the junk that I was, all the junk that I was kind of going over and fixing. Tighten that up for him. But yeah. Another one is finished, so this guy's going to go to the dunes this weekend for the first time with the V8 in there, which is pretty cool. I'm stoked for him because I know when I put a V8 in my older car from a Subaru, it transformed the car. I mean, it just made a huge difference. And this is actually a pretty good sized car, so a V8 in this thing is going to be sick. But yeah, it's kind of a quick one. Hopefully you picked up a couple tips. Let me show you guys. Let me show you some of the wiring. So I get these from Amazon. These kits are pretty inexpensive for the non-insulated butt connectors. They come in all kinds of different sizes, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, I get my heat shrink from good old Harbor Freight. This stuff is actually really good quality. It's pretty thick, and it has the, you have to get the marine grade, so they do have two different styles. So get the marine grade, because that's going to have the glue. Come on. Hold, please. So all kinds of different sizes. You can just chop them up into the little pieces that you need. But it has the glue in there, so use the non-insulated butt connector on there, zip it down and put some of this on there, and it seals it all up, and that will protect. So if you use just a regular old butt connector like these, you know, they do the job, but you have moisture that can get in here and then corrosion, and it's going to start messing with the wire. This one's a little bit better. This one at least shrinks down. If you are going to use, you know, these style butt connectors, definitely get these because you can heat them up and shrink them down just like that heat shrink. But I think it's a cleaner look by using heat shrink and then these. But I have all kinds of different ones. This one has little eyelets on it, so they're all in the non-insulated style. And then I buy a bunch of this because I use it quite a bit. Yeah, and I got all kinds of like grommets and weather packs. I got lugs for battery, so I just purchased all these different kinds of kits from Amazon. There's really doesn't matter the brand. This one seems to be pretty good, but they're all about the same. Well, actually, I take that back. Some of these have a split in them, so this one's solid, doesn't have a split. Some of these do have a split, so just to be safe, if you want to get this style, I know they don't have that slot in there. It's just a little bit stronger if you don't have that. So just some of the products that I use on this kind of wiring. Seems to work out pretty good. But that was it for this one. Kind of easy. Thanks for joining. I got a little razor coming in, and I'm going to do some sheet metal work and a little kind of like door bar in there. So that's kind of cool. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on the next one.